It's Randy Orton. Oh!
I have voices in my head. They counsel me. They understand. They talk to me.
Hey guys, what's up? Mr. Beatles here, and today I'm coming up with another episode of WWE's Missed Opportunities. This is episode 8, and today we're going to be looking at a recent one actually, since he just got released over the last weekend, and that's Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes was a guy who, a lot of people, not just me, who saw a lot of potential in the character, and just the guy in general. The guy was very talented. You know, he could. I think he was a guy who could play heel and face very well, in my opinion. I think he was pretty underrated in the ring. He's actually a good in-ring worker, and he definitely had the tools, in my eyes, to be a main eventer. I think, you know, especially when you look at, you know, some of the stuff he was given, he really made it as entertaining as it possibly could be. Because he debuted in, was it 2008 with Ted DiBiase? Well, no, actually, that's completely wrong. He debuted around 2007, and then he was in that tag team with Hardcore Holly for a bit. Look, was pretty green at that point. He didn't really have much of a character, but then he formed a tag team with Ted DiBiase, started to show a bit more character. They started that kind of the early signs of that legacy faction, and then eventually we did have the legacy faction with Randy Orton, and that was I guess it was good at kind of getting those him and DiBiase kind of a taste of the main event scene. And then obviously they broke off from Randy. They stayed as a tag team for a bit though. They had a feud with DX, which you know, I think it's debatable, but I would say that feud did help them, working with like Triple H and Shawn Michaels. I think it did help them again get some more main event experience, because they did main event Hell in a Cell, and they had one of the bigger matches at SummerSlam 2009, one of the bigger matches at Breaking Point 2009. So I think it was good exposure for them, in all honesty. And you know, they made Shawn Michaels tap out, so I'd say that's pretty good, honestly. So after that, you know, when they sort of broke off, Cody Rhodes went on to do that dashing Cody Rhodes gimmick, and on paper it should have never worked. It was the kind of gimmick that if it was given to certain people it would just not work and it would be horrible. But Cody Rhodes made it work to an extent, because he was just so good at being that kind of arrogant, kind of selfish heel, kind of, you know, being so arrogant. I thought it was quite entertaining for what it was. It was never going to be like, you know, it was never going to be like a main event gimmick, but he made it work in my eyes, and I think this would be a common theme with Cody Rhodes, taking gimmicks that weren't necessarily that great and turning them into something that's actually quite entertaining. So then he eventually, in a match with Rey Mysterio, they did the angle where, you know, Mysterio broke his nose with a 619, and then I think this might even be my favourite form of Cody Rhodes, and that was the kind of, I'm not really sure what to call it, deformed Cody Rhodes, where he wore like the face protector. I really enjoyed that Cody Rhodes. I thought he was a really good heel at that point, and I think that's really where he started to show, in my eyes, potential of being like a main eventer. Not necessarily like the guy to carry the company, but a guy who could be a main event player, if you know they really wanted to. And he had a really good IC title run, especially especially in recent years. The IC title reigns haven't been necessarily that memorable, but this one was actually pretty decent. I thought, you know, he actually brought some prestige back to the belt, and he obviously brought in the old design with the white strap, which I really liked. I'm a big fan of that design, so it's good to see that he brought it back. And apparently, I don't know if this is true, but apparently it was his idea to bring back the old belt design, and apparently he paid for it. Like, I don't know if that's true, but if that is true, then that's kudos to him, because that's, you know, that shows real dedication. So yeah, as I said, I really enjoyed his IC title run. You know, he was just really entertaining in that role, I thought. And then obviously eventually he took the face protector off, and was still a pretty entertaining heel, as I said before. And then by 2012 he'd sort of slowed down a bit, there's not really much direction for him. But then late 2013, well, in 2013, yeah, they started actually it was more kind of actually it was kind of late 2012, but they had the Rhodes Scholars tag team that formed. I can't remember exactly when it formed, but it was kind of 2012, 2013. And that was somewhat decent. Again, it was the kind of thing that could have failed him and Sandow, but because they're guys who can just take whatever they're given and make it work, you know. I thought that was actually quite an entertaining tag team. And then they broke off, and then they reformed again. And then they did the Cody Rhodes face turn, which I actually think was pretty good. Like, they had Cody go up to win. He was going to win the Money in the Bank. Sandow knocked him down, won the briefcase. And that kind of turned Cody face and then went into a feud with Sandow. And he beat Sandow at SummerSlam. And then they did the angle where Cody got fired if he lost the match to Randy Orton, and he did. And then that kind of started, I think, maybe one of Cody Rhodes' better matches, probably arguably his best, where, you know, he teamed up with Goldust to face the Shield at Battleground. That was a really, really good match, actually. I think it was just, everything just fell into place. Everything was just so well done in that match. And it was actually a really good kind of feel-good moment when Cody and Goldust won and got their jobs back. And then they actually won the tag titles off the Shield not long after that. And they actually had some really good matches as tag team champions. There were some really good tag teams at the time in that division. Like, you had the Usos, the Shield, Cody and Goldust, you know, the Real Americans. So there were some good, like, workhorse tag teams in there. And they were kind of at the front of it. And then they did eventually lose the belts to the New Age Outlaws. Teased a breakup. They didn't follow through with it in 2014, which is a shame, because I maybe would have liked to have seen them wrestle at WrestleMania 30, but they didn't. It's kind of a shame. And then they kind of kept them as a tag team, showed tension, and you thought, oh, maybe they'll break off, have a match at SummerSlam. But they actually introduced the Stardust character. And I remember at the time thinking, God, this is so stupid. It'll never work. But once again, Cody Rhodes made it work. And then he kept the Stardust character for the rest of his career. And then when Dusty Rhodes died in 2015, people were saying, oh, we should go back to the Cody Rhodes character and that sort of thing. But Cody wanted to keep the Stardust gimmick. You know, didn't want to get a push just because his dad had died. But then apparently recently, over the past few months, he's wanted to go back to Cody Rhodes, but WWE creative didn't want him to, and that's kind of ultimately one of the reasons why he left. I definitely think with Cody Rhodes, there was definitely an opportunity there to make him a kind of top mid-carder and maybe breaking into the main event, because he had the tools and he could take anything that he was given and make it work. And I think the whole Dashing Cody Rhodes and Stardust gimmicks are just a great example of that, in my opinion, because, you know, if you gave those kind of gimmicks to certain people, it would just not work. But I think Cody Rhodes did, and I think if they'd really got behind him, they actually could have maybe made him a world champion. He could have been a successful world champion, but unfortunately, he never really got a proper run, which is a shame. And I can understand why he wanted to leave. You know, it wasn't just to do with it wasn't to do with his position on the card. I think it was also just he wanted to do other things, and just was frustrated with the creative team, which I'm frustrated with the creative team, and I don't even work for the WWE, so that just kind of sums it up, really. So yeah, I just think Cody Rhodes, arguably one of the bigger missed opportunities, because at least some of these people that I've done in these episodes, at least they won world titles, but Cody Rhodes didn't, which I think is a real shame. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that little missed opportunities video. And if you haven't already, please like the video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe.